to make your cardboard box pinhole camera, you're going to need a couple things to start off with. You're going to either need a box cutter, and I have 3 different types of box cutters here that would be common. So if you don't have a box cutter, you will need a pair of scissors, preferably fairly sharp ones that you're confident will cut through cardboard. You're going to need duct tape. Now I have a special black duct tape, but the gray stuff will work just fine. If all you have is masking tape, you can make it work, but this masking tape is see-through and will let light into the camera, so you might have to use paper on the corners of the box to kind of totally create a light tight seal. You're also going to need 2 sheets of blank white paper, the kind that you stick in your computer printer, or any kind of plain white paper will do. This is going to serve inside the camera to have a white background where the image is going to project so you can see it better. Step 1 is going to be to get your cardboard box and open it up, and you're going to fold and build half of it. So I'm going to fold these in and fold this closed. These 2 pieces don't quite make the gap to completely create a seal in the camera. So what you're going to have to do is tape over that. Again, if you don't have duct tape, you'll need to use paper and the masking tape in order to get that to work.
I would start by taping down 1 piece of tape right down the middle, folding it nice and flat, and then I would finish off by placing tape along the edges like this. So you can use your scissors to make it look neat, but you want to make sure that all of the edges have a completely tight seal and no light is getting into the box.
When you're done with that, step 2 is going to be to place some tape on the back of this and tape in my white sheets of paper on the inside back edge of your camera.
One piece of tape right down the back edge should do, and then now I'm going to arrange my paper inside the box. For this, I'm going to lay both sheets down inside the box and overlap them so that they both fit. I am going to actually use my masking tape now. Scotch tape would be good for this as well. If all you have is your duct tape, you can be careful and put it towards the edges. But the idea is that you have a white backdrop for light to hit and to make it easier to see the image inside your camera. So I'm going to go ahead and put tape all around all 4 edges of
Should look something like that. The next step is to turn the box over and fold the next sides. You'll see that the side that has the Uline logo on it, they actually do match up completely, making a tight seal. So we're going to use this side for where our camera aperture is. It should make it easier. What I'm going to do at first is fold the first set of sides in and cut a small hole about the size of a 1" by 1" square on the middle of this box here.
So I can do that with a pair of scissors by cutting one side of it and then cutting the other side. All cameras are essentially a light tight box with a hole in it, so we're cutting and making a hole so that light can enter the camera.
If it doesn't line up, you can clean it up a little bit. And this first opening can be a little bit bigger than what your aperture is. The aperture is the little piece of paper that I handed you that's inside your box that has a hole in it. This is what's going to make the camera work. So once I have that set, I'm going to actually close it and tape it closed.
Just trim this a little bit. I'm going to tape this on one edge, one side. And then on the other side, try to press the box together a little bit too when you're taping it. It'll make it a little easier.
Now I'm going to fold these two over and do the same thing. Before I do that though, I am going to take my aperture and place it on top of this space here, and I'm going to trace to see how much of an opening I'm going to have to make here. It won't be big. It doesn't need to be big.
With a pencil, I'm going to place the aperture on top of the folded closed box and trace the size of this paper all the way around. The hole I'm going to have to make has to be smaller than that tracing. So I'm going to make
a drawing like that. That is going to allow light inside the camera. This is going to shrink the size of that hole and make a nice precise circle, which is important when you're making one of these cameras.
So all I do is I cut out the 2 half circles that I made. If you have a box cutter, you can use those. I know I said that a box cutter is a good tool. It's going to allow me to do this a little easier than the scissors, but the scissors are working just fine. And now I'm going to have to seal this box closed. So I push the edges together. I'm going to start with small pieces of tape, one on the top half and one on the bottom half. It's very important that you keep this opening free of tape. And now, just like I did on the bottom part, I'm going to seal the edges of the cardboard box and the corners so that no light gets into this box. The last step is going to be to tape this aperture onto the camera. I place that there, and take small pieces of tape and place them all around the aperture. This is going to let light into the camera and create the image. Should look just like that.
The last step is to make a viewing hole about 4 inches away on a diagonal from your aperture. You're going to look inside this opening with your eye and with your cell phone to see the image that's projected on the back wall of the camera. So to do that, I'm going to take a ruler and measure about 4 inches of a diagonal and then make about a 1 inch by 1 inch opening. This is where a box cutter is going to be very handy. It's going to help you to cut a nice clean hole. You don't want too big of an opening because you don't want to let more light into the camera, which will ruin the image. But you have to cut through the first layer and the second layer. So again, the box cutter is going to be your best friend here. If you don't have one, you can use a pair of scissors. It just might take a little bit more finagling to get that to work. So cutting that open. And now I have an opening here where light is going to go in and make an image, and I have an opening here where I'm going to look inside to see what happens inside a box camera.